we come to session 7 of Oracle 99 paper 1, that is Oracle SQL. Session 7 is for producing readable output with SQL plus environment. Right? Now, let us see the objectives of the session. In this session, you will learn how to include SQL plus commands to produce more readable SQL outputs. You can create a command file containing a where clause to restrict the rows displayed. To change the condition each time the command file is run, you use substitution variables. Substitution variables can replace values in the where clause, a text string, and even a column or a table name. So, after completing this lesson, you should be able to produce queries that require a substitution variable, customize iSQL plus environment, produce more readable output, and create and execute the script files. Let's move ahead. We come to substitution variables. The examples so far have been hard-coded. In a finished application, the user would trigger the report and the report would run without further prompting. The range of data would be predetermined by a fixed where clause in SQL plus script file. Using SQL plus, you can create reports that prompt the user to supply their own values to restrict the range of data returned by using substitution variables. You can embed substitution variables in a command file or in a single SQL statement. A variable can be thought of as a container in which the values are temporarily stored. When the statement is run, the values is substituted. Coming to substitution variables, in SQL plus, you can use single ampersand substitution variables to temporarily store values. You can predefine variables in SQL plus by using the define command. Define creates the assign a value to a variable. Examples of restricted ranges of data could be reporting figures only for current quarter or specified date range, reporting on data relevant only to the user requesting the report, displaying personnel only giving a given department. Other interactive effects could be interactive effects are not restricted to direct user interaction with the where clause. The same principles can be used to achieve other goals. For example, dynamically altering headers and footers, obtaining input values from a file rather than from a person, passing values from one SQL statement to another. SQL Plus does not support validation checks except for data type on user input. Let's come to using the ampersand substitution variable. When running a report, user often wants to restrict the data returned dynamically. SQL Plus provides this flexibility by means of user variables. Use an ampersand to identify each variable in your SQL statement. You do not need to define the value of each variable. In the given select statement, select employee ID, last name, salary, department ID from employees, where employee ID equals ampersand employee num. Now here ampersand and any variable name indicates a variable in a SQL statement. If the variable does not exist, SQL Plus prompts the user for a value. SQL Plus discards a new variable once it is used. The example on the slide creates an SQL Plus substitution variable for an employee number. When the statement is executed, SQL Plus prompts the user for employee number and then displays the employee number, last name, salary, and department number for that employee. When a single ampersand, the user is prompted every time the command is executed if the variable does not exist. Now, let's come to single substitution variables. When iSQL Plus detects that SQL statement contains an ampersand, you are prompted to enter a value for substitution variable named in the SQL statement. Once you enter a value and click the Submit for execution button, the results are displayed in the output area of your SQL Plus session. Right? Now, let's come to character and date values with substitution variables. In the where clause, date and character values must be enclosed within single quotation marks. The same rule applies to the substitution variables also. Enclose the variable in single quotation marks within the SQL statement itself. The slide shows a query to retrieve the employee names, department numbers, and annual salaries of all employees based on job title values of SQL plus substitution variable. You can also use functions such as upper and lower with ampersand, like upper ampersand job title, so that the user does not have to enter the value of job title in uppercase. Right? So even the functions could be used with substitution variables. Let's move ahead. Specifying column names, expressions, and text. Not only can you use substitution variables in the where clause of SQL statement, but these variables can also be used to substitute for column names, expressions, or text. Example, it displays the employee number and other columns and any condition of employees. So select employee ID ampersand column name from employees where ampersand condition. So here we are accepting the column name also and the condition also what the user wants for employees table. Now suppose you entered column name as job ID and condition as department ID equals to 10. Then that values would be taken by the query and executed itself. If you do not enter a value for the substitution variable, you will get an error when you execute the preceding statement. Note, a substitution variable can be used anywhere in select statement except as the first word entered at the command prompt. Now let's continue with this. Here we are selecting employee ID, last name, job ID, one more column as ampersand column name from employees where ampersand condition, order by ampersand order underscore column. So here we have used the variables at 3 specific times. One is for a column name, one is for the condition, and one is for the order by clause. So it will ask us 3 values. Suppose we have given the value for column name as salary, condition as salary more than 15,000, order column as last name. It would be taken inside the SQL query and then the query would be executed. So the slide example displays employee number, name, job title, and any other column specified by the user at runtime from the employees table. You can also specify the condition for retrieval of rows and the column name by which the resultant data has to be ordered by. Let's move ahead, coming to defining substitution variables. You can predefine user variables before executing a select statement. SQL Plus provides define command for defining and setting substitution variable. We have define variable equals to value, creates a user variable with a character data and assigns a value to it. We say define variable defines or displays the variable, its values and its data type. Only define displays all user variables with their values and data types. Moving ahead, define and undefined commands. Variables are defined until either issue an undefined command on a variable or exit the SQL Plus environment. When you undefine variables, you can verify your changes with the define command. When you exit SQL Plus, variables defined during the session are automatically lost. Moving ahead, we come to define command with substitution variables. The example on this slide creates an SQL Plus substitution variable for an employee number by using the define command, and at runtime displays the employee number, name, salary, and department number for that employee. Because the variable is created using SQL Plus define command, the user is not prompted to enter the value for the employee number. Instead, the defined variable value is automatically substituted in the select statement. Employee underscore num substitution variable is present in the session until the user undefines it or exits the SQL Plus session. Moving ahead, we come to double ampersand substitution variables. You can use the double ampersand substitution variable if you want to reuse the variable value without prompting the user each time. The user will see the prompt for the value only once. In the example on this slide, user is asked to give the value for variable column name only once. The value supplied by the user, that is department ID, is used both for displaying and ordering of data. SQL Plus stores the value supplied by using a define command. It will use it again whenever you reference the variable name. Once the user variable is in place, you need to use undefined command to delete it. So we say select employee ID, last name, job ID, double ampersand column name from employees, order by ampersand column name. So here it will ask the column name once, and that same will be taken for order by column name also, that is for department ID column.